Hello, everyone. Welcome to JWC Livestream. This is usually where you have your JWC Livestream story autopsy with Ricky and Tom, but I'm not sure where Tom is. So today we're going to do what happens when we have technical difficulties. I'm going to read some Babbletron. And we'll call it a day. You'll notice the background behind me. That's my cover for the book Babbletron, After the Fire. If you go back on our playlist on YouTube, you'll see the first chapter has the same background, so it'll be easy to navigate. And last time we read chapter 1. This is chapter 2. It is titled, I Will Be Watching You. Big Daddy crept through the night like a metallized wraith on the warpath. Gone were the signs of a lingering humanity, replaced by instincts needing drivers in his prosthetic interface. Soon he would hunger for nutritious food, with nothing but a bunch of gutter dope and booger sugar to aid him on his way. Big Daddy's trench coat had pockets aplenty, each stuffed with vac bags of pills or powders. There was more than BD could ever use, but that wouldn't help him in the long run. No one to trade with, not out here. He needed to get out of the dead zone, needed to find a way back. They drove an hour going 90 or something like that, so the only way back would be the highway they took. A murder ride for sure, yet almost certain death on foot. Thoughts raced through Big Daddy's mind, scattering out in his network hardware into the Wave Network. The Wave Network, a satellite flyover which linked most networks, operating only at a certain time of the day when the satellite signal was unobstructed. Many of his friends were not updating, something which spoke volumes as to how the mission went. Had they all been killed? Big Daddy focused on the path ahead, not able to mourn or disdain anyone while being this deep into it. No bike in the dead zone, a place newly woken to fallout and repeated gunfire. Everyone who was anyone around him was likely on the move. They smelled blood in the water, a sign of weakness to exploit or a good scavenge to feast upon. Having dried his clothes off during the day, Big Daddy would be glad to get away without melanoma cancer. Blood or guts would never defile the water he just survived. Just as he thought of how foul his breath must be, he popped an accelerator speed pill, swallowing it dry. Beatty's pulse quickened almost at once when the upper's fire hit his blood. His chemical kick was not to last. The sound of deafening thunder struck with a simultaneous gunshot. The overall echo felt like an explosion, sending Big Daddy into a duck roll behind a cluster of old storage tanks. There he sat, heart palpitating, with blade lying across his thighs, motionless and waiting for what came next. Someone was trying to kill him already, and the night was still young. The storm came in quick, wind picking up rapidly, so that before long, a putrid, acid rain fell hard enough to cloud the air with a toxic bitterness. Big Daddy scrambled from cover point to cover point, using the thunderstorm to conceal his travel noise however possible. The lightning flashed brightly, and so he had warnings with which to coordinate his risky progress. At one junction of rusted pipes, another shot rang out and almost got him. Big Daddy was able to return fire, spraying and praying several shots towards where he thought his attackers may be. Maybe he heard an outcry of pain, or maybe not. In either case, the headhunters seemed to back off. BD couldn't help but feel that he was being followed. Unable to shake the sense of it, he paused briefly before an overlook, beholding a vast parking lot, chock full of derelict vehicles from before the fire. Towers loomed in the misted distance, ominously obstructing a borealis of tempest light pollution. Big Daddy felt the rain flow down his hood as he scanned the distance. His optics were drawn toward his booted feet, where for just an instant he perceived a green laser dot glinting on a freshly made puddle. With his technical reflexes wired into the extreme by power pills, he gripped his pistol while spinning and ducking low. Big Daddy emptied the rest of clip 1, hearing both the snap of metal and an outcry of wounded flesh, then finally a thud as a body hit the muddy ground forcefully. It took him some time, but BD found the headhunter laying in a splashed crater of bloody mud. He swiftly searched his would-be killer, finding him to be somewhat civilized, coming up with a backpack of travel supplies which survived the fall. Food, clean water, ammo, and an upload of data that might shed some light on what this deadhead was about out here. Petey picked the body clean of gear and goods, finally shouldering the pack, making his way back toward the embankment. Again, he stood at the overlook, but did not linger long enough to give someone else a pot shot at him. Using his long blade to stabilize his sliding descent, Big Daddy slid down the moist earth, eventually reaching an outer perimeter of fencing which lay in a semi-dilapidation. Soon he moved through a maze of wrecks, derelicts, and fired-out vehicles. Just for a moment, Big Daddy thought he saw a child dash from one busted frame to another. After a brief pause to squat and check his sanity, he wrote it off as being the pills interacting with bad nerves. It wasn't impossible that kids lived out here, though it seemed very unlikely. He reloaded his pistols with the ammo he salvaged from the headhunter, just in case someone was playing him with holograms. Something felt off as he confronted the darkening night, lost as he was under an overcast of airborne industrial waste. The air burned his throat, cutting into the taste of jerky and cold noodle pouch, likewise lifted. As he choked down the rest of his happenstance rations, a diminutive being with glowing red optics reappeared on a car about 50 yards away from where he sheltered. He had not been hallucinating after all. Above him in the ruffling clouds, a bright infrared projection suddenly lit up. This image looked to be that of a glamorous female face, but with features that bordered on the inhuman. Some kind of shrink-wrapped fairy smiled down upon him, seemingly aware of his confrontation with the childlike being not far off. In his cybernetic media, Big Daddy heard a voice, a whisper of laughing speech that seemed as curious about him as he was about it. "Oh boy, it has been so long since I've had a friend around here." Big Daddy ducked, his jaw almost smashing into his knees. An explosive thunderbolt broke just above him, echoing resoundingly in the acoustics of this concrete hellscape. He soon recovered his calm, only to notice that the child with the glowing red optics did not seem the least bit upset. She played hopscotch on squares, only visible to herself, hopping on one leg or two, moving according to the rules of that old school playground game. She stopped to regard Big Daddy at one point, turning her red glowing gaze upon him. The voice of a holographic sky spoke. Its rolling rumble roared the thunder like passing overhead. "Now, did that just happen because I'm God? That's what your filthy monkey ancestors would have thought when they stopped feeling long enough to think. What did you think, Big Daddy?" Big Daddy felt as if he had had too much to snort, or was candy flip tripped out to perfection. This whole night felt like a wild dream. He spoke with a measure of certainty, but no real knowledge of what it was he was dealing with. Gods are pretenders. I'm interested in authenticity. So enough of this make-believe. If you are really there, then just tell me what you are, and maybe we can be friends. She laughed as if BD were a bunny rabbit, doing a little dance of joy as she gestured and answered his speculations. You can call me Sinflake. I will be watching you. Big Daddy beheld the girlish jelly doll vanish behind a smashed vehicle. A paranoid feeling of oppressive surveillance caught him, causing BD to look upward into the noxious clouds with a sense of growing anxiety. What was happening to him? Other than bad luck, the whole job seemed to have gone to hell. Now he needed to worry about cybernetic hacks in his own hardware. The Wave Network fed him data from the orbital network and other terrestrial sources, but this digital ghost promised to be something else. Not wanting to waste any more travel time, Big Daddy hustled toward a distant complex of dilapidated structures. He moved through the night, hooded, careful to check his corners wherever junctions or wreckage lay piled up. Rain came and went intermittently, offering small noise to cover the sounds of his booted tread. BD made his way toward the edge of that vast lot's countless vehicles. He sought shelter under the shadow of ruins, searching cautiously while seeking a passage or entryway. Behind him in the distance, there was some rising commotion, a situation that BD would rather avoid. He dashed over shattered concrete slabs and glass-strewn asphalt, warped by naturalization into obstacles to snag his footing. In the distance, there were gunshots, one after another. More thunder rolled overhead as Big Daddy saw an incoming text ticker across his optical field. Unless you want another fight tonight, I suggest you head to this location. You will find what you need. There was no doubt. It was Sinflake. He felt an update populate his GPS location, perceiving a directional view of arrows and distances to the destination. Guns kept firing. Then came a boom that was not thunder, a loud detonation, and then another. Big Daddy exercised caution, keeping a respectful head down when moving from cover point to cover point. It did not take long to arrive at where Sinflake sent him. On a separate structure of reinforced concrete, there stood a bunker ingress. The front of it, a solid plate of thick gauge steel, resembling a vault's door. Big Daddy strode up to it, marveling as the bolted locks disengaged as if by magic. The thick door swung outwardly as a text came over his feed. Get in while you still can. Big Daddy stepped through the hatch while drawing a pistol. He drip-dried over a well-maintained concrete floor space, stalking down hallways toward who knew what. The cybernetic modem detected several viable networks which wanted him to join. And text blipped into his optical feed advising him which ones were good. Before long, BD entered a marvelous holographic emitter room with what must have been state-of-the-art imaging systems back when it first came online. Stale corporate air greeted him like a waft out of a plastic unboxing, an exhalation from an age long dead. Colorful lights began to flash and flutter in the emitter chamber like butterflies of shattered stained glass, flapping in and out of obliteration. Her voice came over his network, seemingly distorted by some preoccupied intonation. So, I have taken the liberty of opening that file you salvaged from the headhunter. There are coordinates leading to a settlement. It's not your home turf, but it is better than this. Though there are supplies here at this facility, alas, you are not the only one aware of its existence. Those who share its knowledge are currently far away, but if they should return, their numbers would overtake you. And let's just say that your alignments are not compatible. Big Daddy watched as more directional arrows filled in his vision, as well as downloaded files of the vault's floor plan. Rifled through a supply closet, which was more off the beaten track, some place that the occupants would likely be years away from accessing. He gained some more gear, seizing a larger backpack with more room for food and drink. Smiley face emoji popped over his feed when he discovered a military grenade launcher alongside a satchel filled with grenades. Big Daddy texted her back, his mind caught up in all the unknowns surrounding him as he did so. Thank you, Sidflake. Let me know what I can do to pay you back for all this. Her laughter rolled over the network as a flicker browned out the hollow emitter, seeming to touch all major systems within the vault. After Big Daddy's self-maintenance, he grabbed his new gear and departed into the green dusk of early evening. Well, folks, that was chapter 2 of Babbletron After the Fire. That's a novella, a cyberpunk novella I wrote for JWC. Head over to Amazon.com and pick it up if you like what you hear and where it's going. I promise you, it's a real trip. By halfway through the book, you'll really be digging it. So that's basically it for today. Because life is busy and sometimes people can't make it. But that's okay. JWC is a fantastic writing community. Go to joeswritersclub.com. Go to joeswriters.club and sign up on our forums. We have wonderful meetings and great things to share. Thanks so much for listening. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Have a good one.